right, good evening, everybody. It is 6 o'clock, and I'll call the 15th regular Common Council meeting to order. Will the clerk state the quote of the evening?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Somewhere inside all of us is the power to change the world.
Thank you. Will the clerk call the roll?
Alderperson Bellinger.
Here.
Alderperson Decker.
Here.
Alderperson Feldy. Yeah, I think so. Okay. Alderperson Feldy. Alderperson Heidemann.
Here.
Alderperson LaFave.
Here.
Alderperson Mitchell.
Here.
Alderperson Perella.
Here.
Alderperson Peterson.
Here.
Alderperson Ramey.
Here.
Alderperson Rust.
Present.
All right.
9 or 10.
Thank you. If folks could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Alder Decker, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the minutes from the 14th regular council meeting held on October 21st, 2024.
Second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of approval of the minutes, state aye.
Aye.
Any objections? Minutes are approved. City Clerk, anyone for public forum?
No one this evening.
Thank you. We'll hop into mayor's announcements real quick. All right, just a few quick notes here. So first of all, I do just want to do a shout out and thank you to our city clerk's staff, led by Meredith, our city clerk. The city clerk's office has been buzzing for the last few weeks at City Hall as early voting is starting, and definitely very busy for tomorrow in the city of Sheboygan. Over 9,000 folks have already early voted or voted by absentee in the city of Sheboygan. So be sure to get out and vote tomorrow if you haven't voted. Make sure that your voice is heard and participate in this beautiful thing we call democracy. So thanks, Meredith, and for your team and your staff for all the work that you guys do. Last week, we celebrated a new addition at our senior center, Uptown Social. We had over 500 folks from across the community come out to celebrate the opening of the new gymnasium at Uptown Social. This new gymnasium will provide more programming for our ever-growing senior center, so be sure to check it out if you haven't been down there just yet. But it's so awesome to see Uptown Social continue to grow, both in its physical footprint as well as for its membership and its programs. So additionally, tonight, we'll be voting on the city budget. I really appreciate our dynamic team that has been working so hard crafting this budget, led by our city administrator, Casey Bradley, and our financial wizard, our finance department director, Caitlin Krieger, and her team, and all our department heads who work diligently preparing this document. So this budget is balanced and is financially sound, and it is super exciting that we are part of a city that is in a strong fiscal position, that we can ensure that we're continuing to invest and key public services and essential city services to all of our residents. So I want to thank all the work that our staff have done, as well as the council, for your leadership on this. And perfect timing, Emily, because next I have a proclamation. We have some friends from the Housing Coalition. If you could come on up. So November is Homelessness Awareness Month, and our partners at the Sheboygan County Housing Coalition are definitely leaders on the front line to get involved with many city departments as well as community organizations to tackle these issues, because it definitely takes a lot of cross collaboration and leadership from many folks across our community to tackle this issue. So whereas numerous local organizations, faith communities, social service agencies, and volunteers work tirelessly to provide resources, shelter, meals, and outreach to those experiencing homelessness throughout our community. And whereas Homelessness Awareness Month is an opportunity to highlight the resilience and courage of individuals experiencing homelessness, to promote the understanding of the challenges that they face and the collaboration that is needed to tackle these issues as well. So whereas the city of Sheboygan encourages residents to participate in Homelessness Awareness Month, volunteers with local organizations, solutions and foster better understanding to those experiencing homelessness in our community. So therefore, as mayor of the city of Sheboygan, do hereby recognize November this year as Homelessness Awareness Month. And I'll provide this proclamation to our friends at the Sheboygan County Housing Coalition. And then anyone want to say some words? Okay, 1 second.
Showing a picture? There she is.
We just want to thank.
And introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Ichel Garza. I work with Lakeshore CAP. I'm part of the Housing Coalition with these wonderful ladies. We just want to thank Mayor Sorensen for the proclamation and recognizing November as Homelessness Awareness Month. As homelessness continues to grow in our community, we appreciate the recognition. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Emily Kunde. You guys probably have met me before. I've done this once or twice. I would just like to invite everybody on the council and everybody in the community to come get involved in the Homelessness Awareness Month activities that are happening this month, but not just in the month of November. We have the community cafe that serves our community every single day. They're open from like 11 to 1:30. They're always looking for volunteers. There are community members that rely on this food to eat every single day, and it's an opportunity to really get to know your peers. People that you are actually representing every day. Even if you don't want to come and work it, if you just want to sit down and have a conversation, that community loves it when people come in and sit down and just share a meal. The conversations that happen over a meal are just amazing. So I strongly recommend that everybody in this room come in and get involved in that. In addition to that, if you're not familiar with Pay It Forward, which is another entity that's connected to us, they are offering day services essentially for anybody in our community who's unhoused. So people can come there and spend time, do case management. You could stop in at any point in time. They're right across from Burger King in the EBCO building. You have an opportunity to just get to know your community, understand who's there, what their issues are, what's going through their lives every single day. I think it's a really strong opportunity to get engaged, to get involved, and to meet your actual constituents. So I invite you and I encourage you and I kind of implore you to do some of these things within your community. In addition to the numerous events that the Sheboygan County Housing Coalition is doing during the month of November, we strongly appreciate everything that you have given to us in this, Ryan, as far as doing the proclamation and getting involved in some of our activities and being part of the Housing Coalition. Your presence in all of this makes a huge difference. So thank you.
Thanks, Emily. Thank you, guys.
Hey, can we get a picture, Ryan?
Sure.
Do you want us to come behind you back there?
Joel, can you take it real quick?
Please.
I should sign it.
Cool. Thanks, Joel. Okay, we're gonna keep it going. So next, we have a hearing regarding the budget. So for number 6, potential action and set of rules. So folks wanting to come up and speak will be given 3 minutes, and please state your name and address. So with that, item 7, we'll open up hearing number 102425 pursuant to chapter 65.90 of the laws of Wisconsin, and notice is published. There's a hearing scheduled for this evening on the annual budget, and any taxpayer or resident of the government unit will have the opportunity to be heard on the proposed 2025 budget. Anyone wishing to be heard on this? Anyone wishing to be heard? Final call, anyone wishing to be heard? Seeing none, Alder Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to close the hearing.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any objections? The hearing is closed. Next, we have the consent agenda, items 9 through 19. Alder Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to receive and file all ROs, receive all RCs, and adopt all resolutions and ordinances.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on any of the consent agenda items? Alder Bellinger.
Thank you. I would like to ask a couple of questions regarding item 18. Chief, if you wouldn't mind, I was going to address it before the meeting, but there wasn't time to do that. So I appreciate the quarterly police report, so thank you for that. I just have a couple questions. Number one, aggravated assault and select crimes seem to be up, and I think I mentioned this last time the report came out as well. Is there any kind of trend or any kind of thing that is alarming that we need to be aware of regarding these?
I don't think that there's anything alarming. I think that they are up, and as I've said repeatedly over the last several meetings, primarily what we're talking about is incidents that are related to domestic violence and juvenile issues, primarily in the schools or right after school.
Oh, so those are included in, that's part of the number, the juveniles?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then my other question was involuntary commitments are down, so that's fantastic. And you thought that that was as a result of the co-responder program. Could you explain a little bit what that is for those of us that aren't very familiar with that?
Sure. Involuntary commitment is somebody who's in a mental health crisis and is a threat either to themselves or somebody else. And under certain circumstances, we then have, law enforcement has the authority to file paperwork, which then commits them. Usually in a secure mental health facility. We're lucky enough to have one of those here at Aurora Hospital. Some people wouldn't go there, and then we would end up conveying them outside the county to another facility. But usually they're there for up to 72 hours, after which point they have to have a hearing, or a judge determines whether that they should stay for longer or not. So they're down significantly over the past year. And I believe a lot of that is due to the co-responder program that we have, where we have it's a partnership with the county where they've contracted with Elevate, and the city's provided money as part of that through ARPA funds. And so we have embedded social workers in the police department that go out to these types of calls with our officers about at least 16 hours a day. We started out with one on day shift and one on second shift. We now have two of them every day on second shift. So 7 days a week, 16 hours a day, we have somebody that can help connect them with resources and find alternatives to placing them in that restrictive setting.
Thank you for that. I commend you on that, in the program that you have in place. And if there's anything else that we can do as a council to enhance that, please let us know. But thank you.
Thank you, Alder Bellinger. Alder Prello.
Yeah, I just need someone to unpack number 12. What is that about?
City Attorney.
So that's basically a subordination agreement, in essence, where money is being lent, and the city is the landlord, and so the mortgage holder is asking us basically to agree that should the Harbor Winds Hotel that is borrowing money from them default in some way and they take over the lease, that they would basically be held to the same terms that are in the lease with the Harbor Winds Hotel. It's a pretty standard document.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? All right. Seeing no more, this will be a roll call vote.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
9 ayes.
All right, those items are approved. Reports of committees, items 20 through 23 will be referred to their committees. Item 24 will lay over. And then items 25 through 28 will be referred to their respective committees. Item 29 will be referred to the Plan Commission. All right, item 30, RC number 143-2425 by the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred resolution number 93-2425 by Alderpersons Mitchell and Perla, establishing the 2025 budget appropriation and the 2025 tax levy for the use during the calendar year. Alder Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. I make a motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Alder Bellinger.
I would just like to reiterate what you said, Mayor, regarding the work that Administrator Bradley and Caitlin did for the budget. I've been a part of numerous different budgets, and this seems to be the most detailed and smooth timing of the way everything was presented to us and how it flowed through, and I appreciate that as an alderman, and I appreciate the hard work that went into this and the questions that were answered, so thank you for that.
Thank you, Alder Bellinger. And other discussion, Alder LaFave.
Yes, seeing that this is the first time I just recently was elected as an alderman, I really also want to send my real approval to the way that was presented out. It was easily understood, even for a rookie like me, and it came across, and I really do appreciate the very hard work that was done.
Thanks, Bob. Alder LaFave. Alder Prella.
Yes, this may be, redundant for many people, but I wasn't here. So there is so the net property tax required is the 29,381,887,000. I mean, more than 29,000 million, and so I don't understand the language. That is the net property tax required, or is the expected tax? And is that included already in the first item of the revenue, the taxes and special assessment for 2025?
Finance Director.
Sure. That is included in that special assessments and taxes line already as the total. So it is broken out in two sections on that summary document, both it included in that total, but underneath where it says net property tax required, that's the amount that's actually being levied to support those budgets.
Right. So that is the expectation, right?
Correct.
So why we call it required? I know it may seem silly. It's not straightforward for me. I mean, it's expected, it's forecasted, required in the sense of required by our internal policy based on our equalized tax rate. That's the meaning of it, right?
Sure. I guess you could look at it as it's the amount that's needed to support the budgets with the offsets of the other revenues. So in other words, in order to balance the budget, that's the dollar amount that we need to support all of the department budgets within those categories on that spreadsheet.
Okay. And another basic question. May I, Mayor?
Proceed.
So there is the difference between the revenues and the expenditure, which is about 11 million. So how is that covered?
Sure. Typically, that is covered with fund balance throughout the departments. So, for instance, I know that there's a significant fund balance use planned for the wastewater fund. There is a significant project that we can cover our portion that is not covered by a grant with some fund balance. That is intended in order to keep down the rate for taxpayers. In addition, the ARPA fund, we have the dollars already in our bank account, so it's considered fund balance use as well. So we're just planning to use some fund balance throughout those budgets.
So that same amount is reflected in the longer version of the budget as fund balances?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Seeing no more cues, this will be a roll call vote.
9 ayes.
That's approved. All right, item 31, RC number 1442425 by the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred resolution number 722425 by the City Plan Commission, to whom was referred RO number 662425 by City Administrator Casey Bradley, submitting the capital improvements program requesting for the years 25 to 2029. Alder Perella.
I make a motion to recommend, to recommend.
To approve. All right, there's been a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Alder Ramey.
Thank you. It was brought to my attention that and I'm just scanning this again, but that there wasn't any capital funds allotted for the library, and I was hoping someone could speak to that.
Finance Director.
Thank you. Previously, in this gap of time, the 24 to 28 plan, which then carries forward to 25 to 29, there was the roof replacement within the budget. We have pulled that forward, actually, so it's being bid out as we speak. We're using ARPA funds to cover that expense, so we have removed it from the budget as planned. In addition, we had also worked through the repairs that were needed to the structure of the building of the tuck pointing. So both the requests that were previously in the capital improvement plans have already been brought forward and are actually ahead of what we initially intended.
Excellent. Thank you.
City Administrator.
And I think the caulk as well. That's the tuck pointing. All right. Yeah. So yeah, that was done this year.
Cool. Anyone else wishing to speak? All right. Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote.
Eight ayes, 1 no.
That's approved. Next, 32, RC number 1462425 by the Finance and Personnel Committee, to whom was referred Resolution 1092425 by Alders Mitchell and Perella, approving the City of Sheboygan Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. Alder Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to receive the RC and adopt the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on this item? Alder Perella.
I just want to comment, as I did already at the level of the committee, that I applaud the diligence with becoming compliant with this.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing Alder Mitchell.
Just to add a concurrence onto that, I'm sure everybody who had worked through all 4 volumes of this policy did see how comprehensive and thought out it was. So really our compliments to everybody who worked on what I imagine was not a small or short project. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Mitchell. Seeing no more cues, this will be a roll call vote.
Nine ayes.
That's approved. Next, item 33, RC number 1452425 by the Finance and Personnel Committee, to whom was referred resolution number 1052425 by Alders Mitchell and Perella, amending the 2024 budget for various expenses incurred or planned. Alder Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to receive the RC and adopt the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, this will be a roll call vote.
Nine ayes.
That's approved. Item 34, RC number 1542425 by the Public Works Committee, to whom was referred General Ordinance number 232425 by Alderpersons Decker and Ramey, amending sections 8-16 of the Sheboygan Municipal Code as to expand beach access for pets. Alder Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to receive the RC and adopt the ordinance.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Alder Heidemann.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just wondering, in the changes ordinance as far as increasing the availability for people to be able to be with their pets, was the police department involved with that at the same time? Or did that just come out of that committee?
Police chief?
We gave some input on it.
Okay, thank you.
Other discussion? Alder Perla.
Yeah, just one more comment is that it's a small addition, but I'm very happy about it. So I hope that we will see many more additions in the future.
Thank you. Other additional comments? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Nine ayes.
That's approved. Next, 35, RC number 153-2425 by the Public Works Committee, to whom was referred General Ordinance number 22-2425 by Alders Decker and Ramey, establishing new winter parking restrictions on South 23rd Street and South 24th Street between Indiana and Georgia. Alder Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to receive the RC and adopt the ordinance.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on this item? Alder Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess just if we could get a quick explanation as to why these additional parking restrictions are being put in place. Were they requested, or was there a need determined?
Alder Decker, you want to take that?
Well, I guess it was a request from the constituents in that neighborhood that they actually came, and I want to applaud Superintendent Kolsky and everything with that, with helping out with this. The neighbors were, they've had difficulty. There's some very difficult streets to plow. They're very narrow and they're very, very difficult to park on. So with working with the neighbors and stuff like that, we came up with we hope is going to be a better solution for parking along those streets.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that we were receptive and came to a solution quickly.
Cool. Other comments on this one? All right, seeing no more cues, this will be a roll call vote.
Nine ayes.
That's approved. Next, 36, RC number 152-2425 by Public Works Committee, to whom was referred General Ordinance number 21-2425 by Alders Decker and Ramey, making various changes regarding winter parking and snow emergencies. Alder Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to receive the RC and adopt the substitute ordinance.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion on this item. Alder Bellinger.
Thank you. I was unable to attend the Public Works Committee meeting, and I've just kind of asked if I could just get a clarification. I've read through the documents, and I support the changes, but if we could get some clarification on why these changes were made, what's being changed, how the enforcement mechanism for this as well, and the notification. So that would be fantastic, I think, for not only the people here, but for those watching on TV as well.
All right, should we call up Superintendent Kolsky and Captain Kaczynski?
First, let me just apologize for having to talk about snow when it's 65 degrees outside. It's not my favorite thing.
It's coming.
Right? It's coming sooner or later. So it's been a while since we've reviewed and made any changes to the ordinance related to snow emergencies. And working with the DPW staff, along with the PD staff, reviewing that, we've determined that we feel like we could do things more efficient. And usually with efficiencies come reduced cost, less inconvenience for the public. So that's why these changes are ultimately being recommended. We all know what alternate side parking is, normal winter restrictions during the winter months. That remains. So there's been a little bit of confusion. This change is really only related to the snow emergency ordinance. So alternate side parking during the winter months stays as it has been, other than shortening up the time period. So we're proposing to go from April 30th to March 31st. So it will be 1 month shorter than it has been for the last 5-6 years. We've seemed to go back and forth with that over the years. I think the cost benefit of having that run through the end of April, it's hard to enforce winter parking rules when it's 65 degrees outside in April sometimes. So with these other changes, we think we can deal with the rogue snowstorms in April. So that's what that's about. This snow emergency ordinance change, we feel will help us more effectively clear the streets during a real snow emergency. One of the things that happens now is that the alternate side parking is an overnight ordinance. So from 12 to 6, they need to be parked on the appropriate side of the street. But during the day, from 6 a.m. till midnight, the streets that have or that allow parking on both sides, people can park on both sides. That makes it challenging for DPW to clear the streets in a real snow emergency. So ultimately what this is doing is extending the alternate side parking regulation for a 12-hour period. So instead of it ending at 6, we would ask that the alternate side that you're parked on the night before, you remain there until the city DPW plows can clear the opposite side of the street, at which point residents can dig out their cars, move them over to the other side, and we're giving them until midnight to do so. So they have all day. Some of you may recall, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, we had a similar type of situation, but we had a 2-hour time limit to move your car. This is not that, but it's similar, so you have a lot more time to do it. What that's going to do ultimately is allow our plows to get down streets that normally we can't if cars are parked on both sides. And we can clear one side as soon as possible, and then overnight we can clear the other side, and within that time period we should be able to address a real snow emergency.
Any follow-up, Alder Bellinger?
Thank you, I appreciate that, and I applaud shortening the time frame too, so thank you.
I think you had a question about enforcement?
Yes.
So, Captain?
Thank you. I think the biggest thing with Joel's idea of changing this is that we not look at the snow emergency as the snow event itself, but the emergency is being able to clean up the streets. So it's kind of a paradigm shift. So if we look at cleaning up the streets, you know, if the snow starts at 8 p.m. and is supposed to end at 8 a.m., we're going to declare that snow emergency starting at 8 a.m. to clear those streets, not so we can have plows going around while the snow is falling. So how are we going to communicate this? If you pass the resolution tonight and the ordinance gets changed, we'll have a month to notify people that this ordinance has changed. So we're going to work with Veronica Valdez, our communications specialist in the city, and we're going to use all the available platforms that the city has, DPW, the police, the local radio station, the press, everything to educate the public about these changes. So how does this look then going forward? If today's a Monday and we have snow forecasted for Friday, Joel and I will talk and we'll get together and we'll start discussing the need for a potential snow emergency. Throughout the week, we'll assess that, and hopefully within 24 hours before the start of the proposed emergency, we'll approach the mayor and other city officials and say, we think we need a snow emergency. That gives us 24 hours to educate the public on which side of the street to park on, and hopefully straighten everybody out on where they should be parked when the snow emergency is declared and what their role is throughout the snow emergency. From the police side, that night before, we're going to pay some extra attention to winter parking rules. And why is that important? Normally we would write people tickets that are parked in violation of winter parking, but the people that will be parked in violation of winter parking the night before are also going to be in violation of the snow emergency come 8 a.m. or whenever we declare the snow emergency. So we're going to have some extra officers on staff to make contact with those people, to have them move their cars proactively. So when the first round of plowing happens, we're not towing their cars. And then we'll make sure that that we as the police department treat this like an emergency. Now, we think of emergencies in the police department like some type of crime happening or a gunman in a house. Our role as the police department is to support public works to clear the streets. So we need to make sure that we're treating this like a true emergency and that we have the time to notify our officers that they're working extra hours or bringing in the officers that we need to properly assist DPW in clearing those streets. And we're going to use as far as communications goes for the snow emergency itself, we'll use all the platforms that are available to us. We'll be using the city's Facebook page, the police department's Facebook page, DPW's Facebook and notification page. Will be, I have a history of going on WHBL and actually talking about things and explaining it, and they're really good partners. They'll actually play those clips and the announcements on all of the local stations, not just on the AM Talk radio station.
Any follow-up question?
No, thank you. I appreciate that.
Cool.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion on this item? Alder Perla.
I wanted just to add that I'm confident that you will communicate a change on the emergency snow route in a way that people will understand it easily, because I read the change on the ordinance many, many times before understanding what is going to happen. So it's although it's a simple change, but it's important that people really understand how it's going to work. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no more cues, we'll call the roll.
Nine ayes.
That's approved. Item 37, RC number 155-2425 by the Licensing Hearings and Public Safety Committee, to whom was referred General Ordinance number 242425 by Alderpersons Russ and Lefebvre, amending Chapter 12 of the Sheboygan Municipal Code entitled Buildings and Construction and making such additional changes to the code as necessary to connect the changes made in Chapter 12. Alder Rust.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we adopt the ordinance.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on this item? Alder Bellinger.
Thank you. I would like to add a friendly amendment, and it relates to page 30 of the document, and it would be B2. And right now it states, let's see, work on projects which do not exceed a material cost of $600 or which do not exceed the combined labor and materials cost of $1,200. Originally, this was passed in 1974, and the dollar amount was $400. And right now, we're changing it to $600 and $1,200. So it hasn't been addressed since 1974. I've had several people ask me if we could look at this, and all they would like to do is have it reflect where we are at with inflation since 1974. So I would like the following language for B2 to read, work on projects which do not exceed combined labor and material costs of $2,500. So that brings us with, since 1974, that brings us compliant with.
Hang on. So there was a motion to amend it, B2 to $2,500, correct?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, there's been a motion second.
Which number is changing, the 600 or the 1,200?
The 1,200 to 2,500.
1,200?
And it's just, I don't know why we need the 600 at all.
Okay, so there's been a motion and a second for an amendment. Alder Bellinger, any other comments on your motion to amend?
So, yeah, so then I would add one other, I would add a B3 as well. Okay.
One amendment at a time.
Okay.
So any discussion on this amendment? Alder Mitchell, are you looking to speak on this amendment? Okay. Alder Perla, are you looking to speak on this amendment? Okay.
Yes, so just, don't we need the amended amounts in order to implement the amendment? And what are those amounts proposed?
The amount proposed is $2,500.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Alder Peterson.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So I have a couple of questions about this.
About the amendment?
About the amendment.
Okay, proceed.
So, first of all, just so I'm clear, if we were to increase this to $2,500, it stands to reason that the revenue would then be decreased because of that. Secondly, I did do a little bit of research on this as well, and I feel that if we were to do this, that we would be one of the more lenient cities, at least in our area, that would do this. In other words, it's my understanding that there are no other cities in the immediate area that do anything like this, where they have a $2,500 exception, basically. Most of the other cities that I've looked at don't have anything close to this. So, not that I'm opposed to it, but I'm kind of curious how this would affect our revenue, and I was hoping that maybe Caitlin could help us out with this.
Finance Director, any comments?
It definitely would have an impact on the budget. The number would be the big question. I did not have time to prepare today the actual budget impact of that dollar amount. I do know Alder Peterson had asked previously for the total amount of building permits that we collect, and so I do have those numbers, and I'm happy to share those with council. From 2023 for building, electrical, HVAC, and plumbing permits, we collected about $785,000, and so far in 2024 we're at $699,000 approximately. So I would anticipate that number to go down if the minimum requirement were to go up on what is required for a permit. However, I did speak with building inspections briefly today, and they did also reiterate to me, just as Alder Bellinger had mentioned, that this number has not been reviewed in many, many years, but that they also provided the number of the 600 and 1,200 in order to incrementally increase with a plan to review this more frequently, and also still allowing them to get into homes that are having renovations done to make sure that they are staying code compliant. So just wanted to pass it along while I had the opportunity from that, but then also share those budget numbers. But in order to get a more definitive number on what that anticipated budget impact would be, I would need a little bit more time.
Any follow-up, Alder Peterson?
I guess one question again, maybe for, I don't know if Caitlin can answer this or not, but do electrical permits and HVAC permits fall under the auspices of this amendment? In other words, is that also included, or are we just talking about building permits alone? And I don't know, maybe.
Yes.
What? Yes.
Yes. Yes, it does.
So all of those permits.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what the trade is. It's going to be, as long as you're doing any kind of trade work on your property, that would fall under that.
So if it's an electrical thing,
if I'm doing a service upgrade and it costs $2,000 for everything, it would be under that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other discussion on the amendment? Okay. Alder Decker.
I guess the question that I had, or the comment that I had, was somewhat answered by Caitlin, but I was kind of wanted to know how our building inspectors and how they felt about it. That's my biggest concern. I think that the concern I have is them not getting into, if it's too high. I mean, I do agree that this may be a little bit low on the 1,200, but I think the 2,500 is a little too high, and I think that we need to maybe find a happy medium. So I would, right now, I would like to say that I would not be supporting this.
All right, thank you. Alder Prelate.
Yeah, I wanted to add as well that I had some conversations as well, and I have been thinking about that amount, those amounts, and I reached out to our inspectors here in the city. And they too reiterated with me that they researched extensively the amounts used, as colleague Peterson said, of other cities around, and basically these new amounts align with most of comparable cities that they have researched upon. And that is, for me, an important point.
Thank you, Alder Prelate. Alder Bellinger?
Yes, so one of the main organizations that's in favor of this is the Landlord Association, and in talking with numerous people at the Landlord Association, they seem to feel that more work would get done if this was increased. Right now, because you have to pull a permit for such a small dollar amount, that there's less work being done, so they're less compliant, not more compliant. They're just putting off the work and not doing it because they don't want to pull a permit. So, and, you know, I understand that this hasn't been addressed since 1974. You know, shame on previous councils and us for not looking at it, you know, over that kind of time frame. But bringing it up to $1,200 basically brings us to 1990. So you're still way, you know, behind the curve. And these people that are doing work, I mean, everybody knows what inflation is like now. It's crazy, you know, to buy, you know, anything for especially for a building project, electrical, plumbing, you know, carpentry, anything like that. It's very, very expensive. So I would like to see it. I mean, I guess I could support if we were going to approve what we have right now at the 600 and 1,200, with the caveat that it's going to be addressed next year and move up based on inflation. I could live with that, but just to let something go, you know, approve it and then let it go for another 50 years without revisiting it, I would have a huge problem with that.
Thank you, Alder Bellinger. And Alder Bellinger, just to clarify for our clerk's team over here, this is section 12-50B2, and we're amending 1,200 to, excuse me, 12-51.
51, yes.
Yep, B2, and we're amending 1,200 to 2,500.
Correct.
Correct, okay. Alder Prella, comment on the amendment.
Not directly.
Okay, we're just discussing the amendment right now.
Yep.
Okay. So, Alder Peterson.
Sorry, just to be clear, we're not just changing 1,200 to 2,500. My understanding is that we're doing that, but we're also striking the material cost of 600. Is that correct? Is that your intent?
Yes, because it's
So you want to lump sum both labor and material costs, and make it $2,500, and everything else would be stricken then?
Yes. That's what this, that follows a state statute.
Okay, Alder Bellinger, can you just reaffirm your motion of what you're amending?
So I would like it to read, work on projects which do not exceed combined labor and material costs of $2,500.
Got that. Okay, got it. And there was a second. All right. Further discussion on this amendment? Any clarifying questions? Seeing no more cues, the clerk is going to call the roll. We're going to do a voice vote here.
Just on the amendment.
Just on the amendment.
Okay. Alder Bellinger.
Aye.
Alder Decker.
Yay.
Alder Feldy. She's still on. Okay. Alder Heidemann.
Aye.
Alder Decker, that was a nay. Thank you. Alder LaFave.
Nay.
Alder Mitchell.
Nay.
Alder Peterson.
Aye.
Alder Perella.
Nay.
Alder Ramey.
Nay.
Alder Rust.
Nay.
3 ayes, 6 nays.
Okay, that motion fails, that amendment fails. So back to the main item, item 37. Any discussion on item 37? Alder Prella.
So I don't recall if there is any provision in the new document reflecting what colleague Bellinger said about revisiting, making mandatory revisiting it on yearly basis, because that makes more sense and prevents that what happened in the last 40 years happens again. So just I would like to have a confirmation that there is not such a provision in this document, and if there is none, then I would propose to amend to reflect that.
Anyone?
Make that.
Oh, excuse me, City Attorney.
There is no provision in the ordinance that requires that the ordinance be revisited on an annual basis. That would be sort of a unique provision that's not typically done, although you can choose to do it if you wish.
Finance Director?
During budget time, we do look at fees and are requesting department heads to look at fees throughout their budgets and in their departments. I think this is definitely an opportunity. We're trying to improve that process moving forward. And these types of items where there's restrictions on fees would be the perfect opportunity to make sure we're doing that. But I just want to make sure that that was brought up because that is a time where a department head would be expected to review.
Yeah, for me, and if we have assurance that that this is revised on yearly basis, I would be satisfied with that. But as far as the fact that it's not usual adding such a provision and the fact that it has not been updated for 50 years, I think that's enough of an argument to include it in this case.
Thank you, Alder Perla. Alder Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. I imagine there may be some people here or watching or that will watch that may not have time to go through the 90-page red line document. And given the title of, with the active terms updating and making such additional changes, could we just get a higher level summary of what the goal behind the changes that are being made are and what those effects will be?
Sure. City Attorney?
Yeah, so basically there are 12 key changes in this ordinance. First is updates to the list of the outside codes that are being adopted by the city and the exceptions to those codes. Second, it's granting additional authority to appropriate officials to issue necessary citations, so broadening that authority so that additional officials can be involved in that process. Third, there are changes that are designed to better align the language of our code with state administrative codes, including changes that have been made to various state licensing and permitting schemes so that our ordinances match up with those better. Fourth is the shifting and renumbering of some provisions to make finding the code provisions simpler. Fifth is the use of updated standard language to describe the various roles and positions in the inspection department. Those are definitions and roles that have changed over the years. Sixth would be putting most of the fees into a separate fee schedule so that it can be easily updated by council resolution without the need to actually go back to make ordinance changes, since ordinances are meant to be a little more permanent. Seventh would be clarifying the committee and subcommittee structure, including reducing the number of committees that are involved with these things and also allowing non-residents to serve on the Board of Examiners. Eighth is consolidating most of the appeals regarding building code matters to the Board of Appeals. Ninth is repeal of the vacant building registry ordinance. 10th is removal of most municipal regulations related to swimming pools. 11th is removal of inspection requirements and fees for low voltage installations. And 12th would be moving the ban on coal tar sealant products to the nuisance chapter rather than the building code chapter.
Alder Heidemann.
Thank you, Mayor. Since Alder Decker mentioned that he'd be more interested in passing an amendment that had a different number, I'd kind of like to know what that number is, Alderman Decker.
Alder Decker?
I would be comfortable with if we would leave it with the way it is with materials separate, with an 800 and a 1,500. And if you'd like, I would make a motion to do so.
I'll gladly second that motion.
I guess what's the motion?
The motion would be to change subsection B to with material costs of $800 instead of $600, and the labor and material costs of $1,500 rather than $1,200.
Second.
You got it? Mm-hmm. Okay. There's been a motion and second. Any discussion on this amendment? Alder Lefebvre.
Yes, would this put that more in line with, inflation values?
Just about 1995.
Finance.
That's where it brings it up to?
Somewhere right around there, yeah.
Finance Director.
Without actually going through and finding every inflation at this moment from every year since 1975, I can't answer that for certain.
Okay, got it. Additional questions? Good. Okay. Any other comments on this amendment? All right. Seeing no more discussion, will the clerk call the roll on the amendment?
Alder Bellinger.
Aye.
Alder Decker.
Aye.
Alder Heidemann.
Aye.
Alder LaFave.
Aye.
Alder Mitchell.
Aye.
Alder Peterson.
Aye.
Alder Perella.
Aye.
Alder Ramey.
Aye.
Alder Rust.
Nay.
8 ayes, 1 no.
All right, that amendment is approved. Now we're back on the main motion as amended. Any other discussion on the document as amended? All right, seeing no more cues, this will be a roll call vote as amended.
Nine ayes.
All right, that's approved. Alder Decker, we've exhausted the agenda. What is your privilege?
I move to adjourn.
You moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned at 6:56.
All right.